Hey, what's up guys? Dishsoap here, and I'm going to be ranking all the artifacts and support items in the newest patch of TFT. We're going to jump right in with the support items because there's less of them and even less new ones. Alone in S tier is going to be the new item. I think it's called Moonstone Renewer. Basically what it does is every 4 seconds it gives you a shield, 2 lowest percent health allies. It's kind of a boring item, but it's just a lot of effective HP. Just makes it the strongest. It's strongest in the data. Whenever you play around with the game, just put on a backliner, just gives you a bunch of shields. Then we have Will of the Martyr. What this does is it gives base stats is like HP, I think. I think actually all the support items are base stats HP, but it'll heal your team for I think 7%. Yeah, every 5 seconds, 7% of their max health, and then when that unit dies, it doubles the max health healing. It only does it 2 more times and then it fades away. Pretty much what you want to do with this item, just put it on a frontliner that's not going to die immediately, but it's not going to live forever, like your secondary tank or something, and then it just gives you a bunch of effective HP. Again, it's pretty boring, but it's just effective HP, it's good enough. Zeke's 30% attack speed to the 2 units adjacent and the unit that holds it. Meta comps right now are mostly backline and want to use this effect. It's fine for melee as well. Just attack speed is alright. Pretty boring. Cleaver gives you Sunder and Shred. So magic and, I mean, I call them both Shred. It's magic and physical Shred. And I believe it gives you 8% AD and AP for your whole team. Notably, the Cleaver Shred like lasts way longer than the Last Whisper and like Shiv Shred. I believe Last Whisper 3 seconds and Shiv is 5. Okay. But the important thing is that like it lasts for super long and it doesn't give you any offensive stats, so I wouldn't really use this as a replacement for Last Whisper and Shiv, which sounds kind of weird because when you have Cleaver, you don't want to build Last Whisper or Shiv. But what I mean is that you don't want to put this on your carry. You want to put this on like a secondary unit that can spread the effect really well, but you would still want the base stats from a normal item, and you just go like 3 normal items. Like a good example of this is that it's pretty good on like Morgana, just like units that AoE, like Lilia if you're playing Ashe, something like that. You just want it on units that AoE and put a real item in your carry, but it's good. The effect is good. Next in A tier is Banshees. This is the premier item for melee comps. Lets them get attack speed and CC reduction without having to dedicate a slot to QSS, so it's kind of like getting an extra item on your melees. It's pretty bad for backline, and melee's like low-key a little bit out of meta, so it's not like S tier, but if you're playing melee, you probably just instantly pick this one. Aegis and B, this used to be the best support item, got nerfed a couple times, and also it's pretty awkward to use with stuff like the Kale Storyweaver buff, because you can't buff like both the Kale and the 2 units she's next to you unless you like third row the Aegis, which is just weird. And also it's like really awkward into like stuff like Nautilus. Generally, when I'm playing stuff like Ashe and Kaisa, when I have Aegis, sometimes I don't even buff like my carries. I'll just like buff my frontline with it, and like maybe my like secondary carries in the middle. I just think it's really awkward to position around, but it's still a decent effect, strong early game, so it deserves a B tier. Same kind of thing with Locket. It's nothing to write home about. It's less frontline in this meta than Martyr and Moonstone Renewer. But it's pretty solid early, and it's like just kind of high tempo. It's never really a terrible pick. In the same vein, we got Zizirot. This item got nerfed a lot. With Fine Vintage, it used to do like infinite damage because of the AD scaling. Now that part is like super lower down. It doesn't do much damage anymore, but it's just like a little extra frontline dude. It's not that bad. Again, like decent early mid game. It's whatever later. Shroud, it's just Shroud. Late game, it's good. You mana reave some important casts. Consider it with like Golden Remover, obviously. It gives your team like 60 HP or something. Nothing to write home about. Just an alright item. Now we have Knight's Vow. It's a newer item, or it's a new item. I believe it gives the user and adjacent units 200 health and then 12% omnivamp. It's just a melee item. Use it to give your like stacked melee carry even more omnivamp. I would only take this if I'm angling melee. It's pretty terrible for anything else. But I don't think it's like better for melee than like Aegis or Banshees or like even Zeke's, honestly. Maybe it's better than Zeke's for melee, but it's not better than Banshees or Aegis, so I don't think it deserves a higher tier. I'm not sure if it's stronger than Randuin's. Randuin's buffs your adjacent units and like all around them with 30 armor and 30 mar. The effect is really good, but the thing about Aegis is that the positioning is like pretty bad. You can get punished really hard by clumping in this meta. Stuff like Rakan, Nautilus, Morgana. You're just gonna have a field day with Yukoi. Yeah, just really risky positioning, but lots of stats. I think it's better than the other stuff, but like honestly, it might just be top of C tier, but I'll put it bottom of B tier. A next to item, I think it's called Unstable Treasure Chest. I actually don't know what this is called. Yeah, okay. Unstable Treasure Chest. It's kind of wacky. What it does is when the unit with the chest dies, the 3 closest allies get a temporary completed item, kind of like what Ornn does. but it does it 3 times. So you really want to put this on someone who's just gonna die, like your worst frontline unit, or even like honestly like a backliner. Like maybe you're playing Ashe and you like frontline the Kog'Maw with this or something. Just the effect is not that strong. Even if you put it on like the weakest unit in the game, if your opponent plays around it and like moves their damage to their side, it'll actually take a while to proc. And sometimes you have to like finagle your positioning to get this to spread to units you want it to. It's just awkward to play around. And then the items are random, so you might not even get anything good. Like if it like drops you a crown guard, you won't even get the shield, for example, which kind of sucks. Stuff like that. Like if you already have anti-heal, it can give you like a sunfire when you don't need it. If you pair this with Suspicious Trenchcoat, which is an artifact we're gonna talk about later, the like chest kind of refreshes, and when the trenchcoat splits into like 3 separate clones or whatever, all of them will have like a refreshed treasure chest, so you can get 3 more procs out of it for like 12 temporary items, which is pretty good. So definitely go for that if you have trenchcoat, but otherwise I think it's just a whatever item. Zephyr's here as well. I mean, a crucial Zephyr can win a fight, but honestly, with like how many like basically every single comp plays like 2 to 3 carries right now. Like you can't really Zephyr all of someone's damage anymore. Like you're just Zephyring a portion of it. And also it's really hard to wrap around with melee because most comps play a bunch of different frontliners. I just think this item's usually not that impactful as it used to be. And I think the stats it gives, which is like 8% attack speed or something, is just not enough. Another new item is like the Eternal Flame. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know exactly how this one works. The way it reads is that while the holder is alive, all the units are wounded, and then your team does 6% more damage and the effect refreshes. What I'm confused on is if the damage like stacks. So like every 5 seconds, it goes to like 12 and then 18, 24 or whatever. Or if it just stays 6 and then it refreshes the anti-heal. I'm not sure. I'm sure someone will go out and test. It probably doesn't really change what I think about the item. I think the item's just mediocre. Anti-healing the whole enemy team sounds good, but then you realize you're not burning them. You're just anti-healing them. So you don't really get the damage effect from the burn, which is pretty significant. And then 60% damage to your whole team is nice, but it's nothing to write home about for like the whole support item compared to like 30% attack speed to your whole backline, right? Next we have Chalice. Honestly, there's an argument for this being ranked higher. I just I feel like it's only good late game, but there's really not that many opportunities for you to get support items late game, because typically support item for your like 4-2 augments not that good unless you're playing melee, because most of these items are melee oriented. Like if I'm playing an AP comp, the odds I'm getting a support item late game is just like really low, unless it's like an encounter carousel thing. Support items are really only come up like in the early mid game. Usually is when you see them the most. And for the early mid game, Chalice is like straight ass. And if you ever get like stuck having to pivot to like something AD focused, you're just down an item. If you're only playing one AP backliner, it's pretty bad as well. Like if you don't have duo carries to get use of it. But if you have like a stack Syndra comp where you're like duo carrying legendaries and all that stuff, or you're playing like Sage Silas with like in your Chalice buffing your like Wei, Morgana, Zyra, all that stuff, it can be good. Bottom of C is probably not the brightest, but it's probably top of C. It's just pretty niche. In D tier, it's gonna be Ascension Gem. I don't actually know the name of this. Okay, it's called like Needlessly Big Gem. This used to give gold, and it was pretty like niche good when it gave gold because it let you like snowball and stuff. But now it doesn't give gold. It's just Ascension that you have to put on a unit that needs to survive. I don't think Ascension is very good, so I think Ascension that only works if one specific unit survives is pretty bad in my opinion. It's not even as good as Ascension. I think Ascension's like 50% damage, and usually a support item is classified as like a gold augment. So I'm not a fan. But they do stack, I guess, which is neat. And then the next one is the weirdest one, I think. It's a Spite. Just a really weird niche effect. It's another when the unit dies, so it does actually work with Trenchcoat. That's the only place that's good. It reduces the attack damage and ability power of enemy units by 40%, which is a big debuff. But this is only really gonna be helpful against melee units. Yeah, it does like decrease the shield size of like units like Ornn and Thresh and stuff, but those units are probably gonna cast before your thing dies. So it doesn't really help you get through frontline, in my opinion. And if you think about it, there's usually only like 1 to 2 melee players per lobby. So taking a support item to help with 1 to 2 of those is just whatever. And then the secondary effect is that allies within the explosion range like gain AD and AP. So I don't know. In some theoretical world, your opponent's playing melee, or like a lot of people in the lobby play melee, and like you need this effect to like top 3, top 2 or whatever, or win in the mirror. It's really good. Every other scenario, it's just not good. It doesn't do anything against range comps. And if you're playing a rage comp yourself, like you don't really want to buff your frontline either. Just too niche of an item in my opinion. So yeah, that's the support items. Okay, now on to the new Ornn items or artifacts. Honestly, the support item section took longer than I thought, so I'm not gonna go that in depth of these as like I kind of wanted to, but I'll also like try to explain them. In S tier, we have Suspicious Trenchcoat. I think this item is so insane the times I've had it. What it does is that once per combat 50% health, the holder splits into 3 copies of each health, and each of them has 33% of their max health. This is insane for like 3 reasons. One, all the units do full damage on like Trickster's class. 2, all the units like can gain max health. Let me read Trickster's class if it shows 70% max health. Okay, honestly, I'm reading this and I think Trenchcoat might be bugged because I think it gets the full value of stuff like Bruiser, Too Healthy, just anything that gives your like bulk, anything that gives your team HP, and like full and like item HP as well. I don't think it's 33% of items. I think it's like probably 33% of max HP, and then the item HP is flat. Because I've had like 4 Bruiser Silas with this. With Too Healthy, and then the clones all just come up with like 2000 HP. So honestly, thinking about it more, it might just be good because of a bug. But anyways, this item is really, really nuts because it just spawns a bunch of frontline. Like even without any of the crazy combos, it spawns a bunch of frontline. But where it gets kind of stupid is that it refreshes all once per combat effects, and it includes like item stats and stuff. So stuff like Protector's Vow is really, really good because it like gets them all full mana, gets them a good shield that all cast again. Stuff like Edge of Night. That's just for like the craftable items though. For the for like the Orn item combos, the potential is like insane. With the next S tier item we have, Diamond Hands, you go Suspicious Trenchcoat plus Diamond Hands, and then all the units spawn with an unproc Diamond Hand, so you can farm 4 gold per round and get like a bunch of immunities, which is extremely broken. It also works with Zanya's. You just get 4 immunities and aggro resets per round. It works pretty well with some tattoos. I think I had a game where I had Tattoo of Force. And what happens is when the Trenchcoat procced, all of them procced Tattoo of Force, and then they just chained and killed the whole team. And there's probably more I'm like not even talking about. There's also the support items like the Spite and the Treasure Chest. I don't know. The combos with this are endless and they're OP. The best users for it is like Udyr and Silas. Silas because of the Bruiser HP we talked about, and Udyr because he gains a shield which is not decreased, and he has CC, which is really, really good. Another decent user is Orn and Lysandra. Orn shields himself, Lysandra CC is all good. But yeah, really, really broken item, insane potential, and honestly, I think it might be bugged. But yeah, abuse all you can. Next in S tier is just Diamond Hands. This item has just been really, really good for a while. Just gives HP and immunity and gold per turn. Just a really solid tank item that gives you econ. So it's insane. Eternal Winter, S tier, denying attack speed's really, really good. Lots of pretty strong tank this meta, like Galio, Annie, Orn, stuff like that. Just really, really strong item. In A tier, we have Mittens. This item gives, I believe, 60% attack speed and immune to chill, which is what Eternal Winter does. But other things that do it is like Morgana, and I think a couple of other things, but I can't remember them. Pretty much you just take it for the attack speed. It has like a small minor effect of shrinking the holder, which has some like niche combat effects, but nothing really significant. But yeah, 60% attack speed and immune to chill is just a decent effect. Put it on units that want attack speed. It's pretty solid on like duelists as well, honestly. Pretty solid on Gnar. Just good on like random 2-star legendary. Just a good effect. It's strong early, strong late. Manazane, a really good item for backline. The AP units besides Syndra and Kaisa Zaya love this item, because all you care about with Trick Shot is just them like casting and blowing up the whole board. Just gives you a bunch of mana. Repetitive cast, really, really good. Collector here as well. If you have a strong opener, it's really, really good. It leads into Ashe and Kaisa primarily. You go for this, then you go for like Last Whisper, kind of a crit build, and then you use the econ to hit your 4 costs, and then Snowball. It's really good. Snipers here as well. You just put it on any damage dealer, really. It's slightly better on units with like spells that like don't have a limit to where they can cast. For example, like it's not that good on Ashe because she's not really hitting backline, but for example, something like Alun and Lilia and Morgana can just hit wherever on the board. Kaisa, Zaya can just hit wherever on the board. What I will say is this item is like whatever early game, but it's really, really strong as the game goes on. Next is just Triforce. Can't really go wrong with it. Good on melee. It's whatever on backline. Yeah, but it's just good on most 5 cost, just good tempo item. You never really don't have a holder for this. It's just super flexible and good. Just gives a bunch of stats. Next new item is Wit's End. What this item does is a little weird, and really there's only one good holder for it, but I put it in A tier because of that. It's Bard, but what this item does is it gives you attack speed, MR, and okay, the site is bugged. It does like flat magic damage on attack. Yeah, I don't know how much it does. Does flat damage on attack, and then it heals you for 35% of all magic damage done. It's a bard item. It's not really good on anyone else. You put it on bard instead of a gunblade with your double Gensu setup, and he just does a bunch of magic damage, heals himself. It's just a way more damage than the normal bard build. It actually kind of makes bard viable when he's normally not. But yeah, like it's like S tier for bard, but it's only good on bard. So like honestly, A tier might be too high, but there it is. You can put it on like random magic units like Silas and like Kindred and stuff, but it's not that good on them. It's just whatever. Next is another extremely niche item. It goes in the same comp. It's Forbidden Idol. What this does is, I believe it turns shields into max HP. Yeah, it gives 25 armor, 200 health. Shields have 50% value converted into max health. This goes on Kench. It can go on like Ornn and who's the other one? Like Ornn and Thresh. It's not that good on them. It just goes on Kench. He gets a bunch of HP. Even like 2-star Kench with one of these gets to like over 10k easily. It makes the Bard Kench comp viable as well. Like if you see one of these two and you have a decent spot for it, like consider playing Bard Kench. Next one, it's like Silver Mare or something. Silver Mare Dawn. It gives a stupid amount of base stats. 165 AD, 50 armor, 50 MR. Insane base stats. And it also has another benefit. It grants like immunity to stuns. That's one. And then your attacks also stun the target. But it comes with a pretty big downside that the attack speed is locked at 0.5 seconds. So you want to use this on units that don't mind not casting that much. The best use for this by far that I've seen is on Gnar, because he'll just gain mana from getting hit. He's really tanky with this item, and then he'll do most of his damage through his spell. He'll just throw his rock and stuff. It's decent, or it's like really good. It's like better than decent. Outside of Gnar, it's decent on Wukong and Riven, especially with like blue buff on them. Not really good on anyone else, I'm gonna be honest. You can like put it on like a secondary tank and have them like stun a melee carry as well. It's decent for that. But mainly just a broken Gnar item and alright for Riven and Wukong. Sorry, not Wukong reroll. Riven and Wukong. Riven reroll and Wukong. Next is Trickster's Glass. Honestly, the stats don't like it that much, and I think it's like significantly worse than Trenchcoat. But it does have one like really good use that I don't think people know about that much. What it does, it spawns a clone with 70% max health and 30% max mana, and then the clone can equip items. It just gives decent stats. This item is fucking broken on Aurelia, because Aurelia, honestly, she doesn't get that much benefit from items. I don't think she scales that well. She just has like really good like base effect, I guess. Usually the way you itemize her, you just give her like anti-heal and stuff. But if you can spawn another Aurelia that just is good baseline, this item is like insane. I see this, I take it for like early game, I put it on my 2-star or whatever, and hopefully play for like Aurelia late game. Getting 2 Aurelias is really strong. Next is Zanya's. This item does well in the stats. I don't like it as much as the stats do, but what it does is gives like magic and defensive stats, 45 AP, 30 armor and MR, and then once per combat, 40% health, becomes immune and untargetable. Usually just good in like AP melees, like Lysandra, Rakan, stuff like that. Also decent on Syndra because she can kind of 1v9. Like it's good on the melees and the 1v9 units. It's like Syndra, Silas, Lysandra, and Rakan right now. It's not really that good on anyone else. And also, I don't think it's that good early game, so I'm surprised it does that well in the data. It's a solid item for them. Notably, don't put it on your tank, because if your tank procs this, it'll just drop aggro, and then it'll kill your backline, so don't do that. This is just a generic good tank item. Worse than Eternal Winter, worse than Diamond Hands, but solid. Just heals your guy. It's okay. Death Defiance, just a replacement Bloodthirster that's like slightly better. Nothing crazy about it. One thing to note, this item with specifically Shen's Hero Augment, like Ethereal Blades with Death Defiance, is one of the like craziest combos in the game, because Death Defiance gives you a bunch of armor, and then Shen scales off the armor, and also gives you a bunch of attack speed and stuff. And then like the Shen can use the like delayed damage thingy. It's really good on Shen Hero Augment. It's good on most melees, but if you're playing Shen Hero Augment, this is the best artifact for you. Just small tidbit. Next in B tier we have Deathfire Grasp. It's just a death cap. Like it has some other lines of text. I mean, it gives mana, which is important. It like blast current target, does percent damage. It's just a death cap with a tier. Put out units that want a death cap. If you need a death cap, take this item. Nothing really to it. Next is like Light Shield something. Light Shield Crest. 50 armor and MR, every 3 seconds shield the lowest health ally for 50% of combined armor and MR. So you want to combine this with stuff with like Stoneplate and stuff that gives like armor and MR, like Behemoth and Faded and stuff. So put it on Thresh, put it on Galio with a Stoneplate. It's in B tier. Like the effects, it sounds insane, but when you do the math, the shields that you get are not that big. But it's a solid item, just gives a bunch of stats and some decent shielding. I forget what this one's called. I think it's like Horizon Dawn Horizon Focus. Gives mana, armor to Mar, and health, and then stunning an enemy causes lightning to strike them, dealing 30% of their max health as magic damage. This item, just treat it as like a Protector's Vow, and give it to a unit that CCs. Any unit that wants Protector's Vow, like Nautilus, Lysandra, all want this. It's okay on like Lux, because she'll like stun pretty often, but I think you really would want to use the defensive stats on this item. So stuff like Nautilus, Lysandra, and Udyr. For early game, I think one of the best ways to use this item is if you get like a Rek'Sai 2 as your start, and then you take Portable Forge, you see this, it's probably a take, because Rek'Sai CCs all like an AoE around her, and then you can give her your tank items, and then pivot that into like a Nautilus or Udyr later. It's just a really strong, like natural setup, like carries your early game into a strong late game. Next is Enervating Locket, just another tank item. What it does is it gives health and mana, and then units gain 2% of their total mana whenever they're hit by an attack, and then every time they cast, they heal themselves for 3 seconds. Notably, it's a tank item for tanks that wants to cast often and tanks that are not mana locked, aka Nautilus and Silas. He's healthy, casts a lot, makes a lot of sense for Silas. Thresh is the same thing, pretty healthy, casts often. Nautilus, Ornn. I mean, just put it on your tank. It's not that deep. Okay, for the next item, Lichbane. It's not that good. It's only one really good holder. What it does is it gives 30 AP, 15 mana. The site doesn't actually tell me how much damage it does, but it scales off the stage. So it's like a dynamic amount of damage. It's good on Kindred and no one else, literally no one else. Because she casts often and then always gets the auto after attack. You would think it's decent on Syndra. I think her casts just like take too long, like the animation and whatever. And Kindred's like instant. I think that's the reason. But if you're not playing around Kindred the whole game, like itemizing Kindred, this is not a good item. But I think it's good enough on Kindred, it deserves higher than C tier. Next is Talisman of Ascension. This was ruining the meta. This item gives AD, AP health. This text is wrong. It's after 22 seconds. I think it's 100% max health and 100% damage. Correct me if I'm wrong. They probably just didn't have time to update the text on the website with the B patch. And 22 seconds is a lot longer than 18 seconds in TFT. The fight's almost over by that point. Made this item a lot worse. It's still solid though. What I will say is it's like, or one of the best order items when you're playing these like slow tanky hero augment comps, like Lucky Paws on Kabuko, Midnight Siphon on Yorick, and even Ethereal Blade Shin kind of wants this as well. It's not as good as Death Defiance, but it's still good. Outside of that, it's like decent on backliners like Ashe, who plays like a Stall Porcelain comp, like Stall Syndra Faded comps as well. It's good on Syndra and those. But it's a lot worse on like the non-super tanky whatever frontliners like Silas now, but it's still okay. Next, I believe, is a Spectral Cutlass. It gives 40 AD, 20% crit chance, and then combat start teleports you to like the other side of the board based on where your unit is. So say you put your unit with this item in the bottom right, it'll teleport top left. It turns your unit into an assassin basically, but only for 8 seconds. After 8 seconds, it goes away. It's decent on like high burst melee units that can kill backline fast, like Kayn kinda, Gnar, sometimes Kiana can use it. Lee Sin maybe. Lee Sin doesn't do that much burst though. But yeah, decent on those units. Snipe a backline, get back to the front, and do your thing. I don't remember what this is called. Unending Despair, yeah, okay. 40 armor, 400 health. Whenever shield and holder breaks, 100% shield value. Dealt to the nearest enemy's magic damage. Take this if you're playing around Alawi, maybe Thresh. Like if you get Alawi or Thresh from early Orb, you can consider this maybe guarantee. You could buy it, you could take it. It's just like an early tempo item. Doesn't really help you that much late game. Late game, you can go in like Rakan or like Udyr or something. I would really only take this if I'm playing around Alawi or Thresh. Fish Bones. What this item does is it gives AD and attack speed and double ranged on a unit, but each of their attacks targets a random enemy, so it's kind of hard to focus fire. I think this effect is just generally lackluster compared to the other items you have. You just throw it on your AD carry, and I don't think the effect is like net positive or negative. It's just like a neutral effect, I think. Stats really like it on Xayah for whatever reason. Maybe because she'll like snipe backline and then auto them to death or something. Outside of it, it's just, you just put it on your backline and it's okay. Gambler's Blade is something you take from the Gambler's Blade gold augment if you have like a Rage Blade or something, and then you just farm a bunch of gold. Otherwise, the item sucks. It's untakeable in the mid to late game. Just trash. Usually when I take the Gambler's Blade augment, I try to reforge it for late game. But if you have the early game set up with lots of attack speed, you can consider it. Hole Crusher, honestly, maybe it deserves a little higher, but it's just base stats. Like it's 600 HP, armor to Mar, and attack speed. Woohoo. Great. It's worse than the other tank items. It's not really a secondary carry item. It's just exists. Next is Vampiric Scepter. This item is strange. It's like the worst average placement uh, or item in the game. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it has like 3 users, maybe even 2. But what it does is attacks deal additional 50% AD as physical, so your auto attacks do more damage, and they heal you for the damage dealt. So like 100% Omnivamp on auto attacks, and you get 50% attack speed, but they can't cast or gain mana. So you want it on someone who doesn't cast, which is Aurelia and Gnar and no one else. Yeah. But it's not even Gnar's best, like, Ornn item. Silvermare is better, and there's probably better stuff to put on Aurelia as well, like Snipers or Tricksters. This item is just really niche. I remember seeing it with, like, 6 Duelist Lee Sin, with, like, double Titans and stuff. It looked pretty decent, honestly. Probably just having a Death Defiance would have been better, right? Like, a cool tech thing you can kind of do with this is, if you have Golden Remover specifically, what you can do is you can put this on Kayn after he transforms, and then you get all the benefits of this item with none of the downsides, but that's super niche. Like, Golden Remover is really, really rare. Doesn't really help you normally. But yeah, just super niche item. First thing, I forgot the name of this one again, but I know what it does. It gives you, like, stacking AP and defensive stats. 25 armor and MR and AP. And then takedowns increase the number by 10, and then increase by 15% if they get, like, the actual kill. I think the base stats in this item is just not good enough. You need to get, like, a few kills before it's good. Theoretically, it's pretty good on something like Silas, and just stuff that, like, scales into fights, like maybe a Syndra. I think the base effect is not good enough. Notably, again, it's pretty decent for Shen, Hero Augment. Because the armor does scale his damage, but it's worse than, like, Death Defiance, so I don't think it deserves, like, a higher tier for that or something. And that's, like, super niche anyways. Next thing is Blighting Jewel. Dealing magic damage reduces the target's MR by 3, flat. If their MR is 0, unit gets 5 mana instead. Goes on Teemo. But, like, even on Teemo, it's not even, like, that good. Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's about as good as, like, a Rabadon's or a JG on him, but, like, even Deathfire Manazane's better. So I would not take this. Rapid Fire Cannon. What it does is a little bit different this set than previous sets. 50% attack speed base with 1 attack range, and this attack range increases by 1 whenever the holder kills an enemy. As opposed to, like, set 9, when this item was, like, rampant, there are not that many holders for this anymore. Best I've seen is, like, Kiana and Lysandra, but honestly, they're not even that good with it. There are much more broken things you can do with artifacts. If you really, really need attack speed, you can just take it for attack speed. It's okay for that, but there's way better items that can do that. Next is Ludens. On PB, this was causing some chaos, I think because of a bug. It was, like, acting all wonky with percent damage, so, like, Snipers was, like, scaling the overkill as well, which made it all weird. But they fixed the bug and the item sucks. So what it does is it gives you 30 AP, 30 AD, and then 100% of the overkill damage plus 100 is dealt as magic damage to the 3 nearest enemies. So what you want to do is you want something that, like, overkills something, and then you do a bunch of splash damage. It's just not enough damage to kill anything. Most units in the game actually don't overkill, because the units that overkill usually are bad. See Caitlyn. But it's not even that good on Caitlyn, just because just the effect is not that good. That's all I can say. They just need to buff the damage. The item is bad because the item is bad is where my analysis ends. Prowler's Claw. This one surprised me. It's, like, really, really bad in the stats. I think I, like, maybe heard rumors that this item was bugged or something. That might be why it's bad. But what it is supposed to do is 25 AD, 25% crit, and then after killing a target, sheds negative effects, and then dash to furthest target within 4 hexes. I thought this item would be insane. Like, you kill one unit, and then you dash to the backline, one-shot their backline. Oh, and then the next 2 attacks deal 60% bonus crit damage. I thought this would just be killing everything. I have, like, vague memory of this. It might not be true, but I think my Twitch chat was telling me that the 60%, like the 60% bonus crit damage attacks, like, don't work. I think that might be the issue with it, but I'm gonna be honest, that was a few days ago, so yeah. I just wouldn't recommend to build this item. It just doesn't perform well on anyone. And that's what stats tell you. Like, you can read an item and think it's good, but if the best user is, like, a legendary, and then the best user besides that is a 4.7, it's not a good item. Maybe because it's bugged, I'm not sure. Figure that out later. But yeah, that's my rankings for this item. Not ranking Curse Blade because it's not in the game. I think there's some, like, game-breaking bug with it. But yeah, that's about it. Honestly, not that in-depth, but I hope you kind of got something out of it. My thoughts, my rankings of these. And honestly, I'm probably missing a lot of good interactions that exist with these. So don't take this as, like, the final word, and, like, try to experiment more if you want. But yeah, that's it for me. Peace.